This is Lulu Belle Madison White. She was an African American teacher in the early 1900s. Her father was a former slave in Mississippi until he was freed. Then he moved to East Texas, where White was born into a free family. Although their family was free and there were no longer slaves, the majority of the population in Texas was still white, so African Americans still faced oppression on a daily basis and things like lynching were still very common. After graduating from college, White moved to Houston with her husband. Being an African American woman in Houston at this time was no easy task. Jim Crow laws were still in place that forced segregation on the citizens. The KKK was also highly active, making Houston one of the most racially terrorized cities in Texas during this time. White decided to leave the field of education and work solely for the NAACP, or the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She led the Youth Council, had fundraisers for the organization, organized new chapters throughout Texas, and was eventually promoted to Executive Secretary of the Houston branch. She was the first woman to be an executive secretary of an NAACP chapter and went on to oversee all of the state branches of the NAACP in Texas. She confronted segregation and Jim Crow laws head-on and often spoke up about desegregating public facilities. She educated African Americans on their voting rights and what it means to vote and urged more women to run for office. She also demanded equal salaries for equal work. One notable example was her fight for African American teachers to get paid the same amount as white teachers did at the time. White's influence spanned across the whole nation, but one of her most memorable and valued contributions to history was her battle to integrate the University of Texas. She was successful in this endeavor, and the desegregation of the campus set an important precedent for Brown v. Board of Education. Tragically, she passed away at 50 due to heart disease, but her legacy and hard work won't be forgotten. She is an inspirational civil rights activist, former teacher, and a true example of a powerful African American woman.
Created using Powtoon.